Hey, Ben here from Lake Washington Physical Therapy. I'm here with Manuel from Northwest Solar and Electric, and we just finished a drone shot and want to get a little look at our array that you guys put in recently. How did it look up there?
That's looking great, looking clean. The pollen hasn't really gotten into it yet, so I'm sure the production's been doing well.
No smoke yet, too.
Yeah.
So these guys helped us put in. We put in a 29 panel array with a microinverter system. We'll put some details below, kind of explain how that kind of works. But the team was great. 2-day install, is that pretty normal?
It's pretty normal for residential, yeah. That'll typically be 1 to 2 days with the final day for inspection.
And then what's the booking out process look like? Are you guys booked out for the whole summer? Is it like air conditioning, or is it kind of?
We're not quite there for the full summer. We're reaching July, getting halfway through July. So yeah, by the end of Q2, June, we're going to be fully booked out for the summer.
And I would say, we were talking about this a little bit off air, once you get the solar system put in, it's pretty addictive to check out the Enphase or Tesla app, depending on what you install. And I think that power production is pretty interesting. So we did 29 panels. We've been doing about 65 kilowatt hours a day. Our use is normally about between 25 and 35. So I would encourage everyone, if this is even remotely an option for you, check out your PSE bill and just kind of get familiar with it. That was something that I didn't do. It was on auto pay and just kind of went off each month. So what's maybe one of the first things that homeowners that put solar in kind of realize or think about that kind of is interesting that you guys see on the team?
Right, like you mentioned, you kind of realize you kind of pay attention more to your usage now. Since you are producing, you want to make sure that you're net positive on your production. And so folks kind of start looking into how they can start saving energy, make the most out of this kind of solar investment by having less usage.
Yeah, and I think most of us are always like, turn off the light when you leave the room, but all of a sudden when you start competing with yourself, it's kind of, it gets a little fun. As far as the best situation for a house is positioning, what is that typically?
Ideal is south facing. South facing, 30-degree pitch. But even if it's steep, pitched roofs, it's good for the winter months since the angle of the sun's a little lower. But during the summer, flatter roofs can produce more energy. But 30 degrees pitch is kind of right in the middle.
And I didn't know this, but we were talking a little bit before too. The shoulder seasons, they're not a lost cause, right?
No, not a lost cause, especially because of how the incentives work. But in those shoulder seasons, you get those nice sunny but cold days. During cold days, you can actually produce more energy since hot days reduce the wattage of the modules, so you lose power output. And that's because voltage is affected by temperature. So lower temperatures, higher voltage, more power.
And these guys have a great website that kind of explains everything, and also they get back to you really quickly. I know I got my response within about 6 hours, I think, from the time I submitted my information. But maybe if you could speak a little bit about net metering. People usually ask me like, so is PSE writing you a check? And that's not exactly how it works. You know, maybe at the end of the day it's similar, but maybe you can explain how the meter kind of works.
For sure. Yeah, once you get solar, final step with PSE is to have them come through and install a bi-directional meter. That's going to read the energy you send out to the grid when you produce more than you're using. And net metering is an incentive that pretty much says that you're going to get one-to-one kind of payment or credit when you send energy to the grid. And then that credit gets built up and you can use it in the winter whenever you're using more than you're producing. So that's how we save money throughout the year in the winter, and that resets every April.
So in essence, then PSE is kind of serving as your battery.
Exactly.
In some ways.
Yeah.
Now, when you do install a battery, which we're going to do later, those are kind of back ordered a little ways. Probably still working through supply chain from the pandemic. What kind of freedom does that give you? And maybe explain a little bit how the battery or the power wall or whatever system you go with kind of works.
Right. So batteries, primarily in Washington, is great for keeping the power on. You won't get a return on investment since in Washington you don't have time of use rates like in California. So in Washington, it's great for backup purposes and for pairing with solar. So if you own solar, you won't be able to use that power if the grid goes down because of this anti-islanding effect to keep the utility workers safe in case of an outage. But if you have batteries, you can use your solar during grid outages and extend the time since you'll be able to produce that electricity.
Right. I think that was something for us in a neighborhood like this with power lines exposed, and we lose our power I don't know, 10 to 12 times a year. So we wanted the ability to continue to work as this extensively acts as our home office or corporate office. So as if you're working from home and the power goes out, then all of a sudden you're in a coffee shop, and I'm a little less productive and probably a little heavier. So,
Right.
as far as charging for electric cars, do you guys do that? We're getting one installed, but what are some tips or any words of wisdom there with a car charger? Excuse me, easy for me to say, that you've kind of seen.
Yeah, I mean, charging from home is great. You know, turn your garage into a fuel station. It's convenient. You do draw a little bit more energy since you know you're switching your primary fuel from gas to electricity. You'll see your bill jump a little bit, but if you own solar, you're pretty much generating your own fuel for your car, which is fantastic. And yeah, we install EV chargers. We do batteries. Solar. We like to just be able to provide you all the means to be self-sufficient.
And I will say too, to give them one more plug, is that the whole process, they're taking care of permitting with the city. In this case, it was the city of Kirkland, went super smooth. They took care of all the paperwork. You kind of pay through them as a pass through. So super simple there. They scheduled them to come out, check things out. And then also, hence in the name, they're doing full electric. So if you're having to run conduits or transition anything in your garage for car charging, battery, or even your panel or panel expansion, they take care of all that too. So it's really, really, really nice. I think the one other question that I've gotten from every single neighbor is the break even. So I think the team was very transparent, showing us like what our break even was. In our case, with a 29 panel array, it was going to be between 12 and 15 years, depending on energy prices. Do you have any thoughts on that being kind of the hang up for people? Like it has to be a sooner payout or
Right.
what that kind of means?
Yeah, the expectations for the return on investment is really important to some. Depending, they might be 5 to 7 years, or they've heard from other states that they have short payback. In Washington, like you said, 12 to 15 years is pretty average for Western Washington, and that's because the electricity rates are so cheap. That's kind of what you're paying the system against the initial cost. Um, you know, it's good to factor that in, but solar lasts a lot longer than 15, 20 years. It's 20 warranted for 25 years, but they can keep producing energy for 30, 35 years. And at that point, you're just kind of generating free electricity.
It's just printing money, though.
Right, but you know, just saving lots of money year round. And as electricity rates increase, you're going to save that money much more over the years. And you'll be, you know, providing more clean electricity to the grid. There's environmental benefits rather than just that financial payback aspect.
And I kind of have a counterintuitive thought too, and that is that we liked the green energy component. That was huge for us and a real catalyst for us doing it. But it also, if you think and you have the money, where you can invest it in your home, it's debatable, but you look at certain sites and you're going to see an appreciation of the home value. You're going to see probably a speedier sale, especially in the Pacific Northwest, where people are more green conscious in general. But also, if you look at it kind of almost as a CD, at least this year, this would probably return about 5.25% for us as an investment. That we, again, still at the end of the life, then you still have a lot of money being made by the system itself. So, I think if people have that kind of disposable income and they want to take advantage of the tax credit, it makes sense to kind of do it. If you don't have that money, then maybe stretching for it doesn't make the most sense. But I think, like you said, when you can recharge cars and as the range of the cars improve, it's easier. So,
yep.
Hey, well, thanks for coming out today and kind of working through some questions and
for
the install and take a look at some of these videos. They're great. And again, I'll have their contact information below in the comment section if you want to kind of reach out to them. But super good experience for us. And I've dealt with contractors for 6 clinic builds and 2 home builds. Super easy group to work with. So thanks so much for and pass my thanks on to the team.
Of course, thank you.